Welcome to Real Physics. Today I'm talking about a subject which is a little bit tangential to science. Go woke, go broke in astronomy. And as you might have noted, this video is not monetized. Not that I'm happy with it, but I think it's one of the manifestations of censorship you have to put up with as a YouTuber. Recently I gave a talk in my last video about the evidence of a liquid sun, and I noted and I mentioned there that there was a lack of courage in the scientific community to discuss alternative models, and I think this lack of courage which goes along with groupthink and herd mentality is a general phenomenon in science, if not in modern times. And I want to talk a little bit about this. I stumbled upon, when I registered for the meeting of the Astronomical Society in Germany, I stumbled upon this code of conduct. And if you read this, everything seems fine. In accordance with the principle of equal participation, all members should be free to take part in the scientific exchange, regardless of ethnicity, gender, religion, worldview, disability, age, or sexual identity. Okay, so what? I mean, that's normal, huh? But it's strange that they stress this. And I want to go to history a little bit. I mean, it was science that started to fight against racism, against discrimination. Keep in mind, Einstein in 1924, he welcomed the contribution of the Indian physicist Bose. He said, that's something very important, we have to publish it. And anyone else in the world might have been racist at that time. So it's the very definition of science that you don't look at the ethnicity, you don't look where people are coming from, you just collaborate in purpose of searching the truth. If you think about history, again, it was people like Marie Curie, they were allowed to participate in scientific activity at a time women were not even allowed to vote. So, I mean, it's the very idea of science that you do not discriminate, and it's one of the accomplishments of science that we arrived here at this liberty. By the way, Marie Curie, after the death of her husband, had an affair with a French physicist, and French were outrageous at the time. America was much more liberal. I think that was back then. Today it might be a little bit different. It's the very accomplishment of scientists that we have women in science. David Hilbert ferociously fought for his assistant Emmy Noether, and the same thing holds for Otto Hahn and Lise Meitner. The question arises, because this comes outside of science, I mean, who are you to tell scientists not to discriminate? I mean, it's our accomplishment. It's not an accomplishment of the modern woke movement, and it's something that we scientists started. I mean, these people back then, they could complain that women were discriminated, but I don't think there is any evidence that this is the case today. My personal belief is it might even the opposite, but let's leave apart that issue. But let's have a look at how this code of conduct continues. And they say, okay, this and that is forbidden, and deliberate intimidation. I mean, who does that? Stalking? Okay, of course it's forbidden. Persecution, unwanted photography? Who does that? I mean, repeated disturbance of presentations. Okay, I never observed that. But now, what they don't want is unwanted bodily contact and unwanted sexual attention. I mean, unwanted bodily contact, a friend, yeah? Is this, I don't know. An unwanted sexual attention? Excuse me, what the fuck does that mean? I mean, if a beautiful girl walks ahead of me, yes, she might get my sexual attention, but how do I figure out in advance if it's unwanted or not? Or is sex going to be forbidden in general? I don't know. And don't get me wrong here, I'm not advocating that you should not observe these rules or somehow behave inappropriately. I just think it's not the damn business of the German Astronomical Society in the first place to worry about this. I mean, how many things you could think about? I mean, do they tell you, oh, if a presentation is boring, don't smoke pot, or get a shower, don't smell bad, or don't fart in the conference room, don't pee under the table during the conference dinner, and so on. I mean, all this is not here in the code of conduct. And again, you should not behave improperly. I'm not advocating that, but I refuse to be admonished in anticipation, as if there was a little probability I did this. I don't like this. So you might ask, where does all this come from? And you may even say, okay, that's innocuous nonsense. Just don't talk about it. But I don't think it's that innocuous. I think all these rules, they use poorly defined terms such as harassment to influence you. It's like, you promise to be a good person, and okay, and tomorrow I will tell you what that means. And all this seems to me an exercise of power against who has courage, which is a part of male sexuality. And I think the strategy of those in power is this one. If you bow to that nonsense, you will bow to any rules from the powerful in other fields, in politics and elsewhere. And I think instead that it's the very business of a scientist to speak truth to power and call out the bullshit. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it. And if you're interested in fundamental physics, subscribe to this channel.